Alright guys, so guess what? Bunny has never actually been better than she is right now. With all of her updates and the most recent patches to the game, it has really pushed Bunny back up to being in the spotlight. And as it stands now, she can honestly mob with the best of them, if you use the right build. And that's what you're here to see today. This is going to be the Bunny build that I use, and it's going to be something that has really done exceedingly well for me since all of the patches. But enough blabbing, let's go ahead and hop into the video. So first things first, let's go ahead and look at the weapons like we do in every one of our videos. So with Bunny, we're going to be predominantly using her skills because guess what? She is a skilled descendant, and one of the better stat sticks we like to use for our skilled descendants is going to be the Peacemaker. We went over it numerous times, but the main reason we really like the Peacemaker is for the fact that we can put 3 20% sprint cores on this weapon. And those 3 20% sprint cores will put you really close to the 1300 sprint cap, and that is what you're going to want when you're running around with Bunny. Outside of that, the cores on this weapon honestly do not matter. You can see that we do have a couple cores on this weapon, and those are there just in case we personally ever decide that we want to build it for a DPS weapon. So if you're considering building this for a DPS weapon and you're unsure which cores to put on it, I would definitely go ahead and mirror what we have right here. Now, as you can see, we don't actually have a roll on this weapon because we don't plan on using it. If I was going to put a roll on this weapon, I would probably be looking at something like firearm attack, critical hit damage, maybe some critical hit rate. It would depend on how high we could get the weapon, definitely some weak point, and then we might consider taking off that firearm critical hit rate for something like bonus damage to Colossus or bonus faction damage. It just depends on if you actually need that rate, but honestly, none of that matters because you are never ever going to shoot this weapon. For her secondary weapon, we are going to go ahead and slot on the last dagger here, but again, with this build, you're not really going to be shooting this weapon. You're going to be using mostly your skills, even when it comes to the bosses. Very, very rarely would you ever have to pull this gun out. I just want to make that absolutely clear. This Bunny build is one of those builds that realistically doesn't need a weapon, so it is really beginner friendly, as well as friendly for people who have been playing the game a long time and just are looking to bring somebody back into the mix. Maybe they've retired her and now it's time to bring her out. But anyway, I'm getting distracted. So when it comes to the cores on this weapon, we are going to be looking at 1 firearm critical hit damage, 2 firearm attack, 1 rounds per mag, and 1 fire rate core on here. And then when it comes to the roll down bottom, we're going to be looking at weak point damage, bonus damage versus Colossus, firearm attack, and critical hit damage. Again, this is a very general use weapon. You'll be able to take it against Colossi, and regular enemies, so we want to make sure this is just your everyday all-around bossing gun. If you've seen the videos, then you know the roll you're about to see. We're going to go ahead and put on some firearm attack, we're going to put on some weak point damage, we're going to put on some critical hit damage, and then we're going to add a little bit of magazine and firing fiesta just to give us that nice burst on openers after we reload. So for the reactor on this build, we're actually going to be going with a fusion reactor. And the main reason for that is going to be the mods that we're using a little bit later in the build. But we want to really ensure that R4 hits hard. Now that is going to sacrifice a little bit of damage on your pulse, but honestly your pulse is going to be strong enough that it's either going to one-hit enemies or it's not. And that little bit of damage isn't going to make that big of a difference or that big of an impact on you as you're moving through the map. So this is sort of the sweet spot or the best of both worlds. You're still going to do a ton of damage in your neutral game when you're running around, but when it comes to those big bosses, you're going to have all the extra stopping power you need to really chunk them down. When it comes to the roll down bottom, we're really going to complement that, and we're going to double down on that damage by going with fusion skill power and electric skill power to really top our damage buckets up as much as we can. I didn't have a stroke. I meant to say as much. Don't at me. Now for Bunny's components, we are going to go ahead and run the tried and true Slayer set, and we're realistically doing this to help with our bucket distribution. Now there were a lot of brand new component sets added to the game, and out of all of those, none of them were actually specifically designed for Electric Descendants. So unfortunately, our Electric Descendants didn't get any real benefit to the new component sets. I think some of that was probably due to how strong they already are, and they didn't want to really make them that much stronger. So poor Bunny is stuck using the Slayer set. I would go ahead and use the roll that you see on the ones that I have on the screen now. So when it comes to our inversion reinforcement, for most things, we're going to go ahead and say to use the Holy Trinity. We're going to use selective neurostimulation, Arche Circulation Tactic, and Biodensity Augmentation. If you've watched any of our videos, you know why we like the Holy Trinity. It gives us nice survivability, increased MP, and it helps with our skill cooldown, because we do like to get those cooldowns as low as possible. So for Bunny, this is the Arche Tree that we're actually going to be looking at. This is pretty much our standard go-to tree when it comes to skill descendants. And the real reason we push this is because we get so much additional skill power that it almost doesn't make sense not to take this tree. So as you can see, we got the gold skill power node on the right. We got the purple skill power node up top. For Bunny, we do actually have the cooldown node right now. And then up top, we do have electric cohesion. If you don't know what electric cohesion does, it's just going to give us additional damage. So it's always a nice thing to put on builds just to help increase that damage by that last little bit. I feel like I'm starting to sound like a broken record for a lot of you guys that watch my guides, but honestly, dog, again, doesn't really matter. The only reason I put it in the video is for newer players that are still kind of confused on if the dog really matters or not. And in most builds, the dog you use absolutely does not matter. And this is one of those builds. Use any dog that you have, but if you have both, go ahead and use the Hagios Sheepdog just for that extra little bit of healing that he is going to provide. All right, now having said all of that, it's time to actually look at the build. This is what everybody's going to want to see, and as you can see here, we are using Electric Condense on this build. Outside of that, we're going to do everything that we can to get our cooldown down as much as we can. The reason for that is we want to be able to use our 4 as often as possible, but we're not going to do it at the sacrifice of damage. So we are going to go ahead and put power increase on here as well. And then we're going to round this off with a little bit of range. And then we're going to top it off with MP collector just to keep you topped up in case you're not getting all of the kills. But at the end of the day, we're wanting to make sure that you have 100% uptime on your skills, and that uptime is not going to be disrupted by you not actually having any MP. All right, is everybody gone? All right, so I want to make sure the people that screenshot and dip are actually gone before we get into this next part. So what I'm going to show you on the screen is the build that I have been working on and the build that I really want to try to use. Now, this is for people who are just curious about maybe taking their bunny to the next level. If you're thinking about taking your bunny to the next level, the only real way to do that is going to be to use Veterans Tactics. But the problem is, in the current state of the game, Veterans Tactics is actually bugged and it's not working as intended. So you could, in theory, run an entire match and only get 1 or 2 skill resets in a 3-minute run, and the run's going to be 3 minutes because you're not getting skill resets. So for people who are looking to take their bunny to the next level, this build is actually the build that I want to use and try out once Veterans Tactics gets fixed. So if you're looking for a nice build that's even stronger than the build that I just showed you, this is actually the build I would suggest. But just keep in mind that right now, Veterans Tactics is completely bugged and does not work properly. And if you run this build right now, it feels terrible. All right, guys, so now I want to talk to you a little bit about how to play this build. This build is actually really easy to play. The first thing you're going to want to do is run to start building up charge and then hit your 2. When you do that, it's going to supercharge your movement speed and it's going to start draining your MP by quite a bit. But as you can see, it's going to keep your electric bar down bottom topped up. Now, while your 2 is on, go ahead and pop your 3. This is going to start your pulses, and those are going to be the things that do damage to all the enemies on screen. And as you can see, we have a pretty substantial range. All you want to do is try to run around and keep your 2 and your 3 on as much as possible. As long as you're getting kills, you shouldn't have an issue with this, because you will be getting your MP topped up through those kills through MP collector. So as long as nobody is stealing all of your kills, you should do just fine. So now I actually want to show you a little bit of something with energy condenser, but we're going to go ahead and do it in the lab. When your electricity bar is full, you can go ahead and pop energy condenser. And then typically you would want to wait until it was fully charged. And when it explodes, it's going to do a ton of damage. The alternative to this is you can pop energy condenser and then instantly repop it to do that damage instantly instead of waiting. If you do it the second way, where you pop it and then pop it again instantly, you should do less damage than if you run around, pop it, and then let it pop on its own. So just keep that in mind. If you have time, go ahead and pop your 4 and let it charge up. That way you do maximum damage. But if for whatever reason you don't feel like waiting the time period out, you can just go ahead and reactivate the skill. It will do damage, but it will do it at a little bit lesser of a value. Okay guys, and this is it. This is everything you need to know about the new bunny build. Now, if you've watched the whole video, you know that there was a little bit of a secret that I laid out in here, and I'm excited to use that secret here in the future. Now, a couple things I want to say here. This does not have the new component cores on it because we don't actually have access to them. But the component cores should focus on survivability. So when it comes to the component cores, I should put an update down bottom in the description and in the pinned comment to let you know which component cores to put on Bunny if they do update them. And then if for whatever reason it changes any of her mods, I'll take a screenshot of her new mod setup just so you can get everything set up and you don't feel like you're falling behind. I think Bunny's in a great shape and I really do like playing Bunny. I think the only thing that's really holding Bunny back right now is the fact that we have a sprint cap and everybody encroaches on that sprint cap. So where Bunny used to be the first person in the room and that was how she was able to clear it so easily, you now have people like Inez, Valby, Freyna, all getting to the room at the same time as Bunny, and it makes it really hard for her to shine. But that doesn't mean that she's not actually good. So if you're somebody considering pulling her out of retirement, definitely go ahead and try this build and see if it rekindles your love for Bunny. But having said all that, guys, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing for more First Descendant content, as well as other games in the future. We do plan on continuing to grow our channel to be a much larger gaming channel, so if you just like gaming in general, you're in the right place. And if you want to get to know me and the community a little bit more, we do stream over on Twitch. We would love to have you over there and part of the community, so consider coming over and checking us out when you have some time. But having said all that, guys, thanks for watching the video, and as always, have a great day.